When I was in Vietnam, I was sent out as the assistant motion picture officer, and I had a very nice boss. And he said, look, you can go out and direct films. You don't have to sit here in the office. So I would take a Vietnamese crew out, and we would do documentaries. And then he said, you know, you're pretty good. You can do, you want to write a fiction film? And these were basically propaganda films. So I wrote something, and I started directing. And that's how I got into film. So when I left USA, I was doing two things, writing and working in film. And I worked on some good films as a production assistant. I worked under Sidney Lumet on A Long Day's Journey into Night. Yeah. And then my stepfather and mother did a film called David and Lisa. Very successful early, it was one of the early independent films that actually people watched. And they were both nominated for Oscars, actually. And so I worked on that. And then I made a movie. I got a grant, and I raised some money, and I made an independent movie about the civil rights movement, a story about a troupe of actors traveling around Mississippi during the sort of the heroic days of the civil rights movement. And movie was won a prize in Chicago Festival. It was shown at Lincoln Center in New York, but it never got a real distribution. So I was sort of, I realized that is a very hard game, being a filmmaker. But the first book I wrote on cinema was about all the things, it was sort of a guidebook to young cineasts, how to do an independent film. And it's called Breaking Through, Selling Out, Dropping Dead, and Other Notes on Filmmaking, a very long title. And it's set up like a dictionary. For example, A is agents, actors, and so on. B is, S is sexism, and all. So it's set up like a dictionary. And it was the film students loved it. And it's still in print. It's actually still in print. It's way outdated. And then the second was a commissioned book called The Great Movies. After the Breaking Through was published and was very well reviewed, a publisher came to me and said, would you choose your 50 favorite movies or greatest movies that you think are the greatest and write about them, and we will do beautiful color pictures and make a big expensive book out of it. So that was a little digression from fiction writing. It was shown on German television and maybe in England, but not in France. It was too ambitious a project for me at that time. It was very hard. It was an interracial cast, of course, because the troupe of actors were blacks and whites. And the story of the movie is that they go around Mississippi and they perform in churches, and they try to get people to vote, and they do little scenes to show, you have to stand up for yourself, and you have to go out and register to vote. And then they're threatened, they're put in jail at one point, they're beaten up. But in the end, the white actors and the black actors don't agree, and they have a big split. And the troupe falls apart. And again, a very kind of schematic story, but it was very hard. The cast kind of were difficult about doing this as well. And I didn't have enough experience to really control that cast and to control the set. And we were shooting on locations, mostly in New Jersey, some of it in the South. And there was a lot of stress. And I should have done a 3-character noir with a lot of shadows in New York. That's what I should have done. But I didn't know any better.